the World Cup finals in Germany next year. We will also be talking about the issue of gay priests, which has sent a wave of shock around the Anglican Communion the world over, and indeed the Nigerian church has cut ties with the rest of the Anglican Communion. We'll be talking about it later on also on the program, but for now we will be taking the experience of an Afro-American and his views about Nigeria. He has been in Nigeria before, and he's back in Nigeria now. We're talking about Larry Ukali Johnson-Redd. Larry is here with us. He's a black liberation activist in the United States. Larry, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be here.
I should say that Larry was born in San Francisco, California. Well, he came to Nigeria and traveled to Benin City in 1977, where he worked as a classroom teacher in the secondary school for 4 years before he went back to the U.S. And he has since then done so much to help African Americans to understand themselves and get the real link to the African motherland. He has also written History to Destiny through Afrocentric Poetry, a 303-page book of spoken word and poetry that reflects on 31 years of African roots, culture, and politics. He's just completed the book Loving Black Women, a book of spoken word style poetry in praise of African women all over the world, whom he has praised for standing by our African man. Larry, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Let's start from your reasons for coming to Nigeria in 1977. That's about 27 years ago now.
Exactly. I came to Nigeria with Chinwe Amechi Uzoma Johnson-Redd. That was my late wife. And she was a worker at the Ministry of Education, an education officer, while I was a teacher at Augusta Grammar School on New Lagos Road in Benin City. I taught government to my students for 4 years who had just come out of 12 years of military government experience. So it was quite interesting for them to learn about senators and members of the House of Representatives in their roles. I also appeared on Matters of the Moment and International News Review to discuss various aspects of African Americans' viewpoints. So I'm back in Nigeria after 24 years. I came in on Sunday, right after your independence celebration. So let me take this opportunity to say congratulations to Nigeria for 45 years of independence, because it's not easy, you know. And may Nigeria have many, many more years of independence.
Thank you very much. Now back to the original reason why you came to Nigeria. Does it have anything to do with racism?
Well,
or the fact that you married a Nigerian wife?
Those are all factors. First of all, my Nigerian wife, you know, always told me, if you come to Africa with me, you'll always have plenty of dignity as a black man. As an educated black man with my master's degree at 24, I found jobs very difficult because there is a lot of racism still in the U.S., even now, as evidenced by Katrina and the aftermath and the way African Americans were left out on the freeway. Those are just examples of the racism that we still face. So I wanted to see my roots. I wanted to know how it is to be a black person where you don't have to worry about racism every day and every night. And I wanted to know how it would feel to live in Africa, because when I grew up, we were fed with all of the negative images of Africa through the American media. But I wanted to see Africa for myself and see my people in Africa for myself, and then experience my African roots. And thank God I did.
It's a good thing you did, but then what was your impression, the impression you formed when you were in Benin? You were there for 4 years, which meant you interacted with the people fully.
Of course, yes. My interaction in Benin City was very positive. I really loved it. I still remember my house at 3 Jamaica Drive in the Kenwa area. I still remember my students being very respectful and hardworking, studying very hard to learn the 3 branches of government in the presidential system as well as the cabinet system of government. I remember how the people in Benin City were very receptive to me, and they were always extending themselves and inviting me to dinner and inviting me out for beer and inviting me for more discussions. So I really had a great time, and I really enjoyed myself when I was in Benin. But at a certain point I said, okay, it's time to go back. but it wasn't because of anything bad going on in Benin. Everything was good for me in Benin, and I loved it. And I'm really happy to be back in Nigeria because I continue to enjoy eating African food and learning more about African culture.
All right, now apart from the larger society, how would you describe your assessment of teacher-student relationship when you taught in Nigeria, comparing it to what obtains in America?
Well, you know, right now I'm an educator still in America. I'm an assistant principal in a high school in Brentwood, California. And so I can always contrast how, as I enter my classroom, 3 or 4 of my students would be struggling to help me carry my books into class. And when I describe that experience to educators in America, they can only just be aghast because it will never happen in the U.S. like that. So yes, the students were very polite, very hardworking, and there were very positive relationships between my students and I. As a matter of fact, I've even received on my website, journeytothemotherland.com, some letters from my students saying, we're finally happy to know where you were and where you are now, because they wondered what happened to me after I left.
Okay.
But on a larger perspective, let's look at Nigeria's educational system, or at least the one you worked in between 1977 and 1981 when you went back to the U.S. So how does the system compare with that of the U.S.?
Well, actually, there are some very good comparisons, because when I graduated from high school in the United States, all one needed to do was complete one's classwork. And then when I came to Nigeria, I participated in the West African School Cert, you know, that we had each year at the end of the school year. Well, now in the U.S., I'm administering the California High School Exit Exam. So now we have an exit exam like Nigeria has had all along. So these exams are meant to check standards and make sure students are prepared to go out into the world. I think Nigeria, in its educational system, is doing a very good job, and the evidence is all the success that we see of the Nigerian students when they go to America. They go there and they impress all of their professors because they're hardworking and they study very much. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I think the Nigerian educational system is very good, having participated in it. And I know that the students must be congratulated because, you know, with all of the power cuts or whatever they have to struggle against to get in the classroom, they are there with their whole body and mind, and they participate fully. We have very good discussions about the 3 branches of government in my government classes.
All right, we won't be able to share a bit on that discussion, but you've written a whole lot, and one of your books is entitled The Black Expatriate. Quite the Black Expatriate.
Well, again, I was on a 4-year contract. I was on, well, 2 2-year contracts as an expatriate. And at that time, when I was in Nigeria, most expatriates were white. So I just found it the irony being a black expatriate. However, it was, like I said, a very good experience. And the book, The Black Expatriate, was sold to a lot of people in the United States to give them updated information about Africa and about our culture and about our place on the African family tree. And what I did was I developed The Black Expatriate further. And now I have Journey to the Motherland from San Francisco to Benin City, which is an outgrowth of the first original, The Black Expatriate. And so that is a way to tell African Americans that you have a place here in Africa on the family tree, and that if you come to Nigeria, this is how you're going to enjoy yourself. And I outlined the ways I enjoyed myself in the book. I also gave some traditional wisdom in the book because I had malaria when I was here. I remember at ABU hospital, I got the anti-malaria injection, but also when I got to Benin, I remember people bringing doganyaro to my house and having the whole African treatment with the inhaling, with the drinking the tea and with bathing in it, and feeling the malaria leave my body the next day. So I know the power of traditional roots and healing. And I was able to share this in my book so that my people will know, before the white man came to Africa, that people had life and people knew how to live and people knew how to take care of themselves. And that if they come to Africa, they will never ever live to forget.